Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Scott Tate. I'm President and CEO of the Greater St. Charles County Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. COVID-19 has had an impact on everyone's day-to-day life. People have become very passionate about wearing masks or not wearing masks, and rather than focusing on the health implications, the pandemic has become very political. The Chamber is focused on doing what it can to help local businesses through these challenges. As you have heard, St. Charles County Executive Steve Elman has said that he will not issue a mask mandate because it would be impossible for local law enforcement to enforce. However, he also shared that he believes that people should be wearing masks and social distancing. The Chamber, due to the concerns that we had over the increasing numbers, we issued a statement that on July the 18th, it says the Chamber supports and encourages businesses and community members to follow the CDC guidelines on mask wearing and social distancing to aid in the health of the economy. Less than 2 weeks later, the county executive and the chambers of commerce and the local mayors all came together to issue a plea to local businesses to require masks in order to help curb the spread. As a way to help businesses to help enforce a policy, the county and the chambers have put together downloadable posters and made them available at no charge. Like you, I do not enjoy wearing a face mask, but I do it. We have heard of customers across the country confronting frontline employees at restaurants and retail stores because of a mandate or a business's choice to require them. If you're a customer watching this, please put yourself in the shoes of the employees and understand that they are doing what is required. We are asking you to just wear a mask. Or if you don't agree with that policy, leave and return when the mask mandate or the mask policy is no longer required. Remember, this is only temporary. In an effort to help businesses, Kathy McAlpine, the general manager of the St. Charles Convention Center, has agreed to speak on approaching guests about mask requirements using a hospitality mindset. Kathy attended the Chamber's public policy meeting on Friday and shared some of the tips that she will be sharing today. Attendees were very impressed with how the St. Charles Convention Center has handled mask wearing, and so we asked her to join us in the live stream today. So please join me in welcoming Kathy McAlpine. Kathy, it's all you.
Thank you, Scott. Good afternoon.
Thanks.
You know, this time in our history is very interesting and very disruptive, and it might help a little bit. My background is very much in public administration, and thinking about what the Greater St. Charles Chamber of Commerce and our St. Charles County mayors are asking us to do with enforcing a masking mandate is sometimes kind of overwhelming. And I know that it is easy to get sidetracked and say, well, why doesn't the government enforce it? So just a little bit of background. If just understanding that as a business owner, you can limit access to your business by anyone. If someone doesn't want to leave and you want them to, you can have them trespassed. And the mechanism is in place for you to be able to do that. And yes, it's uncomfortable for you to call the police, but that's enforceable. For a government, whether it's city or county, and the way we live in a big metropolitan area, it's hard to know what city and county you're in. Those kinds of things become much harder to enforce. So I'm hoping that will help you understand why we as business owners seem to be bearing the burden of this, but in the bigger scheme of things, it makes sense. So just understand that requiring guests to wear a mask can be very challenging. It can be scary for your inexperienced employees, and well, really just about for anybody. So we've all heard the scary stories, and we were talking about this in public policy meeting last week. And, it might seem to be easier for your higher level managers or leaders to deliver this message. My thoughts on that are your higher level managers and leaders and business owners, you need to lead this, and you need to be the one setting the example that you need. So one of the things that comes first and foremost to mind is an idea that came from Hilton that Tim Lewin shared, and that is lead with hospitality. A smile on your face, even if it's behind a mask. You can cover up your face, and if you smile, you can still see that in your eyes. And I think we're getting better at that, at noticing that from behind the mask. Nobody likes wearing them, but you can see by the numbers in St. Charles County that just over the past couple of weeks, we've made a great difference in bringing down the number of positive cases of COVID-19. And mask wearing is what we've done different. So regardless of where you stand on the issue, it's working. I don't really know anybody who likes wearing them. Even 5-year-olds who thought it was fun are kind of over it now. But if it can keep us healthy and get us to the end when we've got a vaccine, I think that's what's important. So here's some things I have to share with you today. If you are thinking about requiring masks in your business, there's some really pre-work that I think you should consider. First, how dedicated are you to this task? Because if you're not all in and you haven't thought it through, it's going to be harder for you to do. Do you know what your options are or what recourse you're willing to take? Ultimately, if someone doesn't want to wear a mask, their choices are not to come into your business or to come into your business with a mask, or you're going to give in. But you can't be wishy-washy. You either have to let it or not let it. Somebody might say, well, my health is so poor, I can't. Well, we'll be glad to help you. You can order online, you can order on the phone, but if you cannot wear a mask, I'm sorry, you can't come into the business. You have to practice that. You might have to do the old corny thing of sit in front of a mirror and practice what you're going to say, but you can do it. The other thing, hearing aids. People with hearing aids, sometimes a lot of their listening involves watching your mouth. You may have to be creative and step outside, use some social distancing, take your mask off and do your communicating, and then come back inside. Again, you have to be dedicated. You have to understand that in the end, if you're going to require masking and someone is not going to do it, you have to be willing to say, if you do not put a mask on or leave my business, I will have to call the police and have you removed for trespassing. You can do that calmly. You can do that in a nice tone of voice. But again, you have to have practiced probably, unless you're just really good, and be dedicated. So are you prepared for some confrontation? I don't know anybody that likes confrontation, but you are really better off if you practice. And I promise I will get to some ways to ask about mask wearing. So first of all, you need to think about your signage, your telephone messaging, what's on your website, social media, have some fun. We had a group here in the convention center this last week. It was funeral directors, and they did some real cute signs with 50s messaging that read mask it or casket. It got them point across, and it was kind of cute, but you can have some fun. Consistency is important. Scripting is important. How do you want people to say what you want your business to represent? Model your desired behavior. You first. You, the business owner, the manager, the supervisor. Your team will follow what you lead. Another thing is you cannot expect what you do not inspect. So you have to be very clear that it's not optional. People have to know, your frontline folks have to know that if they get stuck and things start to get confrontational, that they can step away from the person who's absolutely refusing to do what they need to do and go get help. So there's a backup there. So again, your signage, it needs to be simple, clear, complete, and positive. Pleasant is really important. Please and thank you are a must. So I'm sure I've noticed, if you've missed it, I don't know how, but lots of people are cranky. Everybody's got baggage right now. It's just people aren't meant to live in society this way. We're not wired that way. That's my opinion. So right now, make sure that you're leading with a smile on your face and a smile in your voice, because people will be much more likely to comply and listen if you do that way. So here are some good things that you can say. Good morning. May I help you? If the person doesn't have a mask on, you can still say that first. You can lead with, excuse me, may I help you find something? Or, excuse me, will you please wear your mask over your nose and your mouth? Let's see. You can also say, good morning. We're requiring masks to be worn in our business or in our school. Would you please put on your mask? If you don't have one, I'll be happy to get one for you. One of the things that you need to think about if you're going to supply masks is how you handle them. I would suggest only touching them by the little elastics on the corners, or having them in individual layers, if you will, so that people could pick up their own. we all have our different tolerances for what we're willing to risk in a COVID world, I think. We're requiring masks to be worn in our business or our school. I have one for you, or I can get one for you if you would like. If someone says, no, I would not like, I'm not going to wear that mask, say, well, certainly that is your option. But if you want to be in here, a mask is required. And if they still won't, well, I'm sorry you feel so strongly, but I'm asking you to leave. And if they don't want to leave, you can say, sir, ma'am, I'm really sorry. I know this is uncomfortable, but to be in my business, you do have to wear a mask over your nose and mouth. So if you can't wear a mask today, I need to ask you to leave. And, I'm sorry. And if it's still ugly or whatever, you can say, my recourse is to call the police and have you removed for trespassing. Most people, and we've only had to do it once at the convention center so far, we did have to have a supervisor step in, but the gentleman decided to leave. It was a dad from a dance show. As you're thinking about masks, remember, I know I said this before, you need to be dedicated. You can use signage into your building. It needs to be large, it needs to be simple and positive. How about, thank you for supporting our efforts to keep you and others, as well as our staff, as safe as possible. Please wear a mask, or mask wearing required. We just have a picture of a mask and the word required on our convention center doors, but it's everywhere. There's not a door in the place that you can get through without the mask sign. The other thing that you could do is you can post the request from the Greater St. Charles County Chamber of Commerce and our Association of Mayors with the press release that's asking businesses to do that. That's another piece of the layer of authority to this and why we're doing it. We want people to be healthy. We want them to be okay. Just remember, ultimately, your business is yours, and you don't have to let anyone in that you don't want to. It is uncomfortable, but it is your option to offer to call the police and have whomever won't follow the rules removed for trespassing. Most of us don't want to go there, but understand that you have to know what your options are before you can make your choices. So if you have any questions about what if somebody says this or what if somebody says that, it helps if your employees are wearing masks, and I think it would be impossible to do without, but that they see people wearing masks, that your guests see people wearing them properly is probably your first line of defense. Telephone calls. You can put it on your phone messaging. If people call, say, I've heard my executive assistant say, now we do require masks to be worn in the convention center. It's very matter of fact, it's very positive, but it lets people know as they're making their plans before they actually get face to face. That's really all I have to share. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Kind of short and easy, but again, lots of practice, script it out, look at yourself in the mirror. You can do this. Scott? I think you're still on mute.
There we go. How about that? No, I think that's some really good advice. We did have one person, somebody ask a question. It might have been actually a chamber because we've had this. Can you address having your teenage frontline employees confronted by someone older than them? I know that probably a lot of restaurants have younger employees working the front line. So if you could maybe talk about that and how you would maybe handle that.
Absolutely. So some of the things that I see are, if you're willing to take the heat you're asking your employees to take, that goes a long way. And so that they see you do it and they see you model it is where you start. But even backing it up a bit, have some team meetings and practice. We're in the Midwest, I notice, and I've lived all across the United States, more southern than north. Ma'am and sir help a lot. So, excuse me, sir, is probably a really good lead in for a teenager or a younger person. Or, it's nice to see you today. Sir, I don't know if you noticed, but a mask is required to be here in our restaurant today. If you'd like, I can provide one. Otherwise, would you please put your mask on? And you just be quiet for a minute. And after they do, really important, remind your teenagers, You lead with please, and when you're all the way finished at the end, say thank you very much and smile and be sincere. And you can tell teenagers, practice it in the mirror, go home. You can write the script and send it home with them and say, your homework, when you go home, I'll pay you all an extra half an hour to go home and practice this in a mirror, because I'm going to expect you to come in and tell it to me like you know it and like you believe it. And they'll get to the point where they change their words a little bit, but it'll still be what you want them to say. Or if they get an argument and it's a teenager, sir, I hear you that it's uncomfortable, or ma'am, I am so sorry. You can be sorry, but it is a requirement. And if they say, well, what are you going to do about it? Or you can't make me, or whatever, just say, well, it's my job to tell you that it's a requirement. And I'm asking that you please put your mask on. Right. That's where your teenagers or your younger people should stop. Then they need to go get a backup. That's what your managers are for. And your manager can come over. I would always suggest, if you can, standing over someone like this is much more intimidating. And I get that because I'm a very tall person. So getting to eye level is good. So a server could kind of kneel down a little bit, so that maybe putting themselves a little bit below the eye line of an older person is a little bit of a better posture for that. And talking quietly, because if this escalates in the middle of your business or your restaurant, that's really ugly. So soft voices are important. That's another reminder. And if the manager has to come over, the same thing. Move down, pull a chair over, get on eye level and say, sir, I hear that you're uncomfortable about wearing a mask, but it is a requirement to be able to have service in our business. So would you please put a mask on? Try again. And if they tell you no or whatever, just say, well, I'm sorry, but we won't serve you, and I need to ask you to leave. Those are the only two choices today. Wear a mask, or we need to ask you to leave. Right. And you have to be prepared. What are you going to do about it? So what? Role play at home. Have some fun. Have some fun with your teenagers. Role play in a staff meeting. What could they say? Or what are you going to do? And write those things down, script them, and practice them back. I'm local, I'm here. My phone number's on the web. So if you want to call, if you get stuck with something, I'm happy to help.
Well, that's great. Well, we appreciate your tips and your thoughts on that. And we certainly want to remind people they have to help out too. Just remember that these are all frontline employees. Let's not intimidate them and make them feel lesser. I mean, again, like you said, nobody wants to wear a mask, but we all have to do our part to make sure we get through this. And if wearing a mask to go to a restaurant just to get to your seat or to get up and go to the bathroom, obviously you can't wear the mask while you're sitting down eating. Right. But if you have to get up and go to the restroom or get up and leave your seat for any reason, put on the mask. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not really a huge mask wearer myself, but since the chamber has come out with this position, I've made a point to make sure that I wear a mask everywhere I go, where I may be running into the general public, because again, I think it's important, to help stop the spread and even help local businesses. That's what the chamber's about. We want to be here to help businesses, and we want to make sure that we continue to keep them operating and as long as we can. We certainly don't want to see non-essential businesses have to shut down again. I don't think that's on anybody's plan, but if we see an increase again, with no end in sight to this, it's very challenging for us to really know what to do other than what we can, and something as simple as wearing a mask and social distancing and washing our hands. If that's all that we have to do, I think that's pretty simple. And again, it's nice that it's not mandated. I think you could see in communities across the river, they have mandate, but they still haven't seen their numbers drop off quite yet. There's still people not wearing masks in mandated areas either. So again, it's very difficult to enforce, but we just ask people to respect the business's policy. If the business chooses to require masks to enter, respect that policy and either wear a mask or turn around and leave and come back another time and put yourself in the shoes of the individual who may be having to enforce that. And a lot of times it's a frontline employee.
Right. So one more thing with your frontline employees, especially the younger ones, or people who tend to be a little more shy, remind them that you want them to feel safe. So if anytime they feel threatened or someone starts yelling or swearing, that they need to stop. It's not their job to argue, that they need to
Correct.
stop and remove themselves from that situation and go get a manager or supervisor. And that coaching also really helps your employees remember that you have their back.
That's a good point. Good point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One last thing. Well, thank you, Kathy, for joining us. We certainly appreciate it. And thank you. And we'll send. If anybody wants Kathy's contact information, they can contact us here at the chamber. We'll do that for our chamber members. So just let us know if you have any questions that you want to ask her directly. She's happy to answer those. One thing I do want to remind people about is St. Charles County is going to hold a second free mask distribution event on August the 14th. That will be at the Family Arena from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you don't have a mask and you need a mask, feel free to go by the Family Arena on August the 13th, which is this Thursday, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and get yourself some free masks from the county. So, well, thank you again, Kathy. We certainly appreciate it. I think we will certainly be forwarding this out to our membership and letting them know. We know we have a lot of restaurants, 60 or 70 restaurants that they're dealing with this, and they're the ones probably that deal with probably more confrontation than any other business, I would guess. And so, we want to make sure that we were able to share this, and maybe they could provide some of these tips to their employees and hopefully avoid a loud confrontation. So anyway, thanks again. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.